That clock hasn't been advanced.
Is it really? Oh,
Something happened.
10:02.
Oh, he's just saying it's recorded.
Oh, yeah.
That's all.
All right, so I'm going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. You can join me if you wish. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And you can be seated. So since the Haydoms were here first, I'm going to start with you. And what we're doing is reminding everybody, you took an oath when you first came before the board, and that oath extends to today because the continuation was until today. So we have an opportunity to present additional evidence. And I see from what I was sent that you have included a appraisal report from the Fortin Group. And Linda, if you had a chance to see that?
No, I looked at it quickly. Yeah.
Per what Eric was saying, these are the Haydoms at 218 Lake Road.
Andover.
Yeah, I think we know that.
Bob, have you had a chance to look it over?
I looked it over online. If you can just let me take a quick glance
Sure.
at it again, just to refresh my memory. Thanks.
So what we have is, we have an appraisal on their current home at $960,700. And that was an increase over the previous year assessment. I would believe it was what, 672 or? Which one here? 21.
I don't know. We don't have that other,
Yeah, that's not on the field card.
you don't have the letter? We have the letter right here.
Okay, what
Is
is
this
it?
what we're looking for?
That's
Yeah,
the
current,
appraised
right.
value.
So the previous year, it was an assessment of 516.
That's
So-
the assessment.
had my video there. That should be good.
All right. So can I hang up or do you want to leave this channel open?
No, you can hang up.
Yeah, we can hear you through the phone. Okay.
All right, sorry for that, folks. This is still buffering.
Yeah.
In case it
So
starts
do you
up.
have any other information you'd like to offer? Then we're gonna go into a discussion.
Just Linda, please make sure your phone's on speaker so I can hear it as well as possible.
Okay,
Do you have any
How do we
other
do that?
information you want to bring towards your?
The only.
No, you just muted
I
it.
just made it, okay.
Technology.
Yeah, I know.
I think
So
it,
can you hear us, Eric?
Yes, I can.
yeah, we can hear
Okay,
you fine.
so I think that's good.
The only other thing that I have to add is that this appraisal, she was not able to, take anything off for our location on the lake and our, that we live on the pond end with a foot of muck on our end, and, we can get to about 70 spot about 40 or 50 feet of grass. But the reason is that we could not, she said that we do not know if we could do anything with that or not.
She actually
So-
mentioned that in
Yeah.
the appraisal.
So she said, if we find out that we can't do something or we can do something, could affect the appraisal.
Right, right.
And I mean, I just don't feel that, you know, us being charged as the people across the lake that can walk down to their lawn into a nice sandy beach, have a beautiful seawall, you know.
Yeah.
The last meeting, Georgette mentioned we had 200 feet of frontage on water plus. If you look at the pictures, there's an inlet, there's two pieces of wetland that come in, and then there's about 30 or 40 feet. And then there's all the weeds and different obstacles. So you can't even, I mean, it's hard to even try and launch a canoe. And then the other 100 and something feet is total wetlands that we can't even use. I mean, we can't even get to it really. We have to cross a little inlet of water that comes, when the lake fills up, it comes in on the left-hand side of that grassy patch
Yeah.
field.
The appraiser made actually fairly extensive notes
Okay,
of the shallowness, the proximity to wetlands, the fact that you would need special permitting if it's allowable at all. So I think
Yeah.
she took all that stuff into consideration in her valuation. Whether the assessor did or not,
yeah.
you know, that may very well
No,
explain.
she said she couldn't take any deductions for that because we don't know if we could do anything there.
Mhm.
So
Which is a whole nother.
Yeah, well,
can
she
of
did,
worms.
she did consider that as two areas of negative consideration.
Right.
So it sounds like she did actually take it into account in her
She
writing.
did,
of
but she said
market
she
value.
didn't, couldn't take any value
Couldn't
off.
figure it into the appraisal.
Could
Uh-huh.
not figure it into the appraisal because, and for us to know, we'd have to really get involved, hire some people, come to some wetlands meetings, and from what I understand right now, there isn't even a
this
wetlands
is the Timmy
Committee
decision. I
in
guess.
the town right now, or
They
wetlands.
discussed
Since John Valenti left,
The town.
they would rehire anybody.
Right there.
Okay.
So it's just another matter that we're gonna be taking up in the future, I guess, coming back to.
You can only work with the information that you've got.
Right,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
So when we come to that bridge, I
Right.
guess we'll address it and see what happens.
I don't know, I came to your house,
Yes, you,
yes.
And
You sent us.
you
some
have
pictures.
a lot of stumps, like little landmines everywhere.
yeah.
And
But I'm
the
just
swamp
talking about
area
the
is-
water. Yeah.
No,
Okay.
and the swamp area is a lot of stagnant water is in there, and I'm sure it's breeding mosquitoes, and I'm sure it's an unpleasant area. One thing we did recently is we got a copy of a decision, a court decision in which we've got the information between the plaintiff and the town. And the town put an appraiser on, and he was talking about, and I can quote this. There's a question posed by the town attorney. Now, as far as preparing this, has it been your experience in evaluating waterfront properties that the type of waterfront is important? Now, this is the town attorney, meaning deep water, muddy water, sandy beach, or sandy areas. Can you explain to the court how that might affect valuation to the extent that you considered it? So to answer the question, yes, I considered the factors. To explain that again goes to the overall utility of a lakefront lot. Some lots, lakefront lots, have sandy bottoms, especially if we're talking about a glacier type lake. However, this is a man-made lake built in 1927, and there's a dam. And actually, Your Honor, the lake itself, the lake bottom is privately owned. It's not owned by the lakefront property owner. So the dam and the lake itself are privately owned. It adds to the type of the bottom and with it, the utility. If you have, like my mother's house is on a lake in Old Lyme, it's mucky. So there's a dock and it's wonderful for fishing, but you can't swim there. So this discussion is that the town does lower the value. Now, I don't know if the assessor took that into consideration. He never had a discussion with the board. Other than the fact that he was reviewing appraisals, he wasn't commenting beyond that.
Well, according to Georgette,
but-
she just looked at the card and said, you have 200 feet of
Right.
frontage on the lake.
Right.
But that's why I said, well, if you could, someone came out and looked,
And I know it's a big detractor.
you
for-
would, you know,
You-
out of that 200 feet, there's a stretch about maybe not even as half the size of this room where you could walk down to the grass.
I saw it with-
All the
I saw it.
lily things and the big mounds.
Right. And it's very possible that there's a further
when-
negative impact, because if you can't do something with that, it's going to stay the way it is because you
You
can't get the
step
permit.
into that, you sink down.
Right, no, I understand. So what's being said is,
I've been there in a canoe.
You have.
so the appraiser apparently isn't comfortable going lower than she has it, not probably because she didn't walk in the water, probably didn't do
Yes.
that. And within her purview, she didn't know to what extent she could comment on that.
Right,
It's a
she
lake,
said she
the lake
couldn't.
bottom is owned by another
She
property.
said she couldn't defend her.
Right, right.
Decision if she went
Now,
into that area.
in the future, if you
So-
try to get a permit,
Yeah,
and environmental concerns are so strong that they don't give you a permit,
Yeah.
and you can't improve that lot in that lakefront, I think at that point, you should come back to the board and say, listen,
Yes.
we've done all of this.
that's why I was bringing this up.
Right, that's
Just
fine.
Put it on record.
Now, on the other hand, if
You,
Alcoa decides to dredge that cove,
They
your
did
value
about-
goes up.
About
So-
20 years ago or so, they had that discussion.
Uh-huh.
and haven't done anything.
It didn't, I was like, so, you know, happy, but something happened.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if that was before the dam or after the dam.
I think it was after.
After the dam. And they were really thinking about it. And then there was something about where to put all the muck. And I said, you can put it all on my property, I'll take it.
You got your numbers in order?
Well, that was for the 861 appraisal. They came
Well,
up
it'll dry out.
602,700 at 70%. It's
All
still
right,
less-
so,
still less. It's not
We're
as
so
as low as they requested, but it's still less.
right.
Right.
Well, and that's the, that's what we,
can do.
yeah,
That's the information that we
Yes,
have to work
correct.
with.
Yeah.
correct.
So that's,
So we're going to, I'm going to make a motion that we accept the value as assigned by Linda Fortin Appraisals, who's a certified Connecticut independent appraiser. Her appraisal number to you is 861,000. And that would give you 70% of that value would be 602,700.
as
So
the
your
assessed value.
your assessed value would be 602,700.
that's what you get taxed on.
Yeah,
That's, yeah,
which is less than what you had.
yeah.
It's not quite as low as you
Yeah,
want.
well, it's almost 100,000. I
Yeah.
paid
Which,
now.
and I recognize all your,
Yeah.
what you brought to the board.
I mean, we're at 18,400 right now, so that's gonna put us over 20,000, which is, you know,
Right.
retired couple is pretty hefty.
How do you apply for a senior citizen discount
To AAA.
through?
So real quick,
He's
It's a
kidding.
little humor.
Because
Um,
You meant AARP.
That too.
before we go any further, am I correct that the motion is to set the assessed value to 602,700? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And I'll second it.
And Linda has seconded that motion, Eric. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It carries unanimously.
Okay.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Eric.
So you're,
And if you get more information,
right,
then you can.
next year you can come back and,
Permanent appeal
Yep.
again,
Mhm.
and when do they let you know when you can do that?
well, you need to file by February 20th, prior to February 20th. And you go through the same process that we just went through. And the board tries to work as much as possible on factual data. And the more independent, the better. I mean, if you get an environmental group from Yukon and they come in, they said, you can't touch this because,
The wetland.
right, there's a
Yeah.
spotted toad in there. I don't know. So then we'll address that. But right now,
I haven't seen any spotted toads.
you
but
never know.
There are some toads in
Maybe you'll have some of those big new spiders.
You know,
supposed to come up.
Have you ever
Yeah.
spoken with Hank Gruner? He's the consulting herpetologist that we have that comes in. So he's all into the turtles.
there. Oh, really? There are, we have had some, actually in the flower bed, last year, a turtle must have laid eggs in there because we had
Snapping turtle.
about 50.
There were millions.
They were just
Little
coming out
babies.
and they're in the driveway. I was picking them up and putting them on the grass.
Good.
They were all
I must
trying
have
to
picked up
Bob
about
stole my,
Well, they're
30
great
or
for the
40
environment.
I let him look at the,
so that we didn't run them over, but
what do you call it?
yeah.
Do you have the appraisal I gave you?
I
Ted?
have it.
Snap
I bet I
I just want to keep it with my records.
Okay, thanks for coming.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it, you guys.
Take care.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Grimaldi family.
Yeah, again.
Well, everybody's coming back for more than one swing at the piñata.
And what is the address for Mr. Grimaldi?
353 Lake Road. It's a current house under construction.
Actually,
357.
the house under construction is 357.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's what we're talking about. right?
357. They live at 353 and the house is 357.
Right, this is the property that you subdivided a couple of years ago. I was on planning. and
I
zoning back then,
remember.
yeah. They just brought me in as a temporary alternate here because the chair, Georgette, is out on medical, so.
So since our last meeting, you graciously let me go to the property and look it over and provided us with this, which was a good help. We have to go back to the relevancy of October of last year. And so this addresses October of last year. So that's really, so it's saying that you had 55% completed on October 5th. And it lists all those items when what percentage they represent for the house and of course then the photos. Did you guys get this?
Mhm.
So looking at your form, it says you estimate the value at 125 back in October. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the town was looking at its value, the assessment after review. I guess they came down a little bit from Vision.
Yeah, Vision originally assessed the house, well, they appraised the house at like 457,000, at 55% complete. We went back to them and then they dropped it down to 295,000. again, you know,
So the assessment on the 295 brought it down to the assessment to 206,990. And you thought it was more appropriate at 125.
right. Based on what's done, what the, you know, the value of the home.
Right. Did
I'd
you have a
like to
cons-
make note that the document you're holding, that's from the bank. Those are-
Right, I see that.
Bank
Liberty.
inspection at that time.
Right. I understand that. Your wife and I talked about that in terms of, you had a loan amount of 200. You're not building the whole thing for 200.
Originally we were gonna, but now like COVID hit, you know, it's gonna.
Yeah, that I would have thought it would have been over that. Was there a construction appraisal done or the bank do an appraisal to support? No, that's an inspection report. How
That's
much
what
is-
the bank does for us. That's their inspection with pictures.
No, I'm asking, was there, when you go in with a project, right? It's sort of like Jivan, who's coming before us, they bought a property. To get that property, they had a bank appraisal. You know, if you're selling by, so you never did any type of bank appraisal,
No,
We had to give them a list of, you know, what it was gonna cost us. I
right?
don't think they ever came out to appraise, they just
No.
do inspections.
yeah, each time they do that, they charge us a fee to come out.
So you're saying that this whole project here was 200,000 and 55% was done, so that's why you came up with a 125?
Yes.
Okay.
Right, I mean, 55% of 200,000 is less than 125, but, you know, just reasonable, I mean,
It's 110.
so.
All right, do you have any other information? We're gonna have a discussion, but I can't start discussion, and if you have any other information you want to give us.
No, nothing else, right? Nope.
Okay, so we're gonna now have a discussion regarding this matter. And between the original form being filled out, the questions that have been answered, and the construction inspection form being offered, Robert, what is your take on this?
The construction inspection form looks at the status of construction on the structure and the loan amount. And that's how you derived the 125. That doesn't take into account the value of the land.
Any comment on that?
No, I agree with that.
Okay, so if we're gonna come up with an assessment or appraisal, we would start with that 125 or 110, or, you know, that. I agree that that's a reasonable way of evaluating the current value of the structure under construction. But we also need to bring the value of the land into that calculation in order to get the total thing that we're basing the value on.
And your land value here is 88.4. For total land value.
Is that assessed or appraised? Or-
That's the appraised,
Uh-huh.
88.4. So it would be, do you want to do the addition of 88.4 onto 125?
Well, 88.4, let's just call that 90 and 120. Okay, so that
Yeah.
would bring it to 210 for the
Mhm.
assessed value.
Okay,
And what did the town come up with?
This is,
yep, right here. That
206.
but, so 210, you said appraised though. I can't do this in my head.
That's the assessment.
No,
So we're saying 210 for appraisal, the main value. Now she's going to take 70% and figure what that is.
okay, let's start this again. So
Okay,
we've got 55% of 200. Call it what it is, 110, okay? And then
Appraised or assessed?
No, that's,
I know.
That-
appraisal.
that's appraised, that's appraised, okay?
Appraised. thank you.
Okay, that's appraised, 110, and then appraised,
Appraised land value, 88.4.
okay?
So that'll give us an appraisal figure, and then we
Mhm.
take 70% of that, and that's what they're taxed on.
Yeah, roughly.
That's 70, sorry, 70% of that is 147
For an assessed value.
for
Correct.
an assess, correct.
So
Can't spell
do
correct.
you feel comfortable with that?
And what did John come up with for an assessed value?
Well,
206.
yeah,
Right
yeah,
there,
right here.
206, 990.
Mhm.
so
It's substantial.
yeah, but there's merit to what they're presenting. I mean,
Mhm.
we have to look at the snapshot of that home, October 2021, not where they are now. When they get their building certificate, he's gonna jump it again,
Mhm.
you know?
Well, this is the snapshot
Right,
from October.
Yeah.
Right.
right. I mean, I'm good with that,
I'm comfortable with that.
yeah.
The 147.
And then he'll be back, well, you know, I don't know, a year, I don't know how long it'll take you guys to
Yes, I
finish.
will get back.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you know, and then we'll go then. But I need
Okay.
a motion if someone wants.
Okay, then I will make a motion to reduce the assessment to 147,000.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 300. Get all that, Eric?
Oh, the motion was to reduce the assessed value to 147,000 even, made by Linda Armstrong, seconded by Roy. Motion carries 300.
No, it was seconded by Bob.
Oh, sorry. Okay,
And yet it was unanimous. And that was for the Grimaldi property on 357 Lake Road.
yep.
So you'll be getting a letter from us, just stipulating what our decision is, just to formalize it. Once your project is done, certainly come back, and I don't know what your assessment will be at that point, as you don't either. Yeah.
I do have a couple of questions. So the field card, who comes up with that information? How is that input?
The assessor's office is in charge of the field card.
So the assessor's office is responsible. And we know that that card is like way off, completely wrong.
Yes,
Okay.
many are. We've
The assessor's
discovered
office,
that.
We're talking about.
Yes.
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 He's responsible. All right. The other question or thing that bothers me is that the town hired this Vision Government, whatever solutions to go out to people's property and assess it. And they did a terrible job. They were way off twice. Who's held accountable for that?
The assessor.
So again, Chapones.
He is their direct supervisor. So if you were, when you went to Vision, right, and you say blah, blah, blah to them,
Yeah.
they give you an answer that supposedly is backed up by the information from the assessor's office. Sometimes it didn't come out that clear, and Vision explained to people, because we've heard this, that we don't know why the value changed. We weren't given that information. So that's their answer. It's not really a good answer, but it comes from the
problem
assessor.
is that The assessor got the information from Vision Government Solutions. Okay, they were out at the property. They got it completely wrong.
Mhm.
So the assessor's basing his decisions on that field card,
Mhm.
on what information they gave.
Mhm.
Who's held responsible for that? They screwed it up and we're paying.
It's
them.
not
The
just
town is
you.
paying them. Well, I agree. I imagine it's like, a lot of people.
No, I know.
So the town is, I'm imagining paying a good amount of money for this company to do this, and they're screwing it up.
And how
Who's
do we
responsible?
change that? How do we change
Exactly.
that company? Yeah, no.
Why are we wasting money with these people? That's my.
I don't know if they're the only game in town, but it seems like the entire state of Connecticut uses
Well,
Vision
that's a
Government
problem.
Services, yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah, I
So,
don't know.
somebody needs to address that. I
Well,
wouldn't
you would,
beat your bones.
you would want to bring that information to the selectmen and say, we just recently went through this. This is what we saw, Can you please address this problem and see how they respond to you?
Just curious, were you there when the Vision people
Absolutely.
were there?
yeah.
I mean,
I joked with the guy.
I spent half an hour because they came, they had a clipboard with 3 pages of information and half of it was incorrect. I spent half an hour with them saying, no, that's wrong, no, that's wrong, no, that's wrong.
Absolutely. And the same thing with Vision.
But do they
when
do anything about that? Like, do they make any changes?
Oh, yeah, they corrected the stuff. I mean, I checked what they then put in on the field card and it was updated to have corrected information.
And you spoke with
But
the guy
yours
that came
wasn't.
out.
Yeah,
So
Not-
why wasn't ours?
Even 353 Lake was not updated.
That's wrong. too.
They were walking it. You know, they said we have vinyl siding. It's not vinyl siding. It's just, it's just a mess. It's a
Yeah.
mess.
You're not the only
They
one.
didn't listen to
Alright,
us.
so-
They didn't make any changes.
We've been hearing this.
How do
Maybe
we
it's
get,
individual.
how do we get the field card corrected? That's-
So there are people in town that have the same problem and that I know for a fact are trying to correct it. But the only person that can change, lacking a directive from the court, the only person who can change that card, I can't change it, you can't change it, you can point it out, is the assessor. The assessor supposedly, according to testimony given at court, the very first thing he does is check the field cards to make sure they're correct. Because the algorithms that are used, all that data that's on that card, like if you have two sheds, right? If you have a paved driveway as opposed to a gravel or a dirt, it all becomes a number within a system that then spits out a number. So if there's errors in the card, it will give a wrong number. And then he further clarified for the court that the term garage is used ubiquitously across the board for any outside car structure. So a guy had a post and beam, beautiful, post and beam building built, and it held two down and two up. And it was called the garage. And Mr. Chaponis said, it's wrong because there's no algorithm changes made for post and beam structures as opposed to your common garage. So he goes, that's where I come in and I say, it has to be a higher value because it's a different quality, different presentation, and a different value. So he tries to explain that to us, and
I can understand that. I can understand you're trying to come up with a value of that property.
Right.
Market value of that property, which, is probably not easy, but to be $300,000 off. When we met with Vision Quest, we corrected everything he had on that card. It didn't get corrected here.
right, and that's Mr.
So,
Chaponis.
Yeah, it's
You could bring
Alright.
it to Eric's
Not to
attention
be-
and say,
not to
listen,
be,
we're finding this.
not to be a smart ass.
No, I understand.
Chaponis is not doing his job. Who's responsible for that?
The man that's taking the notes.
Yeah, well, I understand. Okay, so, town manager's a waste of 75 grand, if you ask me, because he should be overseen. Apparently he's not.
Well,
That's my problem. Yeah, I
again,
get
the
ta- I get
selectmen,
billed my taxes every single quarter, but,
help me out on this, Bob. So the
I'm sorry,
town
I don't mean-
administrator
Mhm.
works under the direction of the selectmen.
Why don't you just ask him? He's listening.
I know.
Eric, do you work under the purview of the selectmen directly? Are you responsible for the Mr. Chaponis's office and what they are choosing to do or not choosing to do?
Sure, I'm a direct employee of the Board of Selectmen.
He's a direct employee for them. But your day-to-day responsibilities, if it's alleged that Mr. Chaponis is failing in some aspect of his job, do the selectmen look into that or do you look into that?
So potentially both.
So should the Grimaldi schedule a meeting with you to give you their concerns or should they bring it to the selectmen?
They're free to do either approach if they're unhappy.
Okay. Here's your answer right from the man.
thank you.
Anything else we can answer for you? Will?
No, that's it.
Ultimately, though, the system has checks and balances and hopefully the ability to
Correct.
correct things. That's
I
why you're
hope so.
sitting here right now. So, and we don't work for the town, we work for the process.
That's what
No.
government solutions told us.
Well, except somebody pays them.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody pays us.
Nobody pays.
Nobody.
We're here out of the goodness of our hearts. We all live here. We all are subject to the same situations that you are. So
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time.
Oh, you're welcome.
thanks for coming in.
Have a good weekend.
Want the chairs back
The
or?
sun.
No, leave it right there. Can we see if the Shaw's on?
We can look.
I mean, we gotta do the Shaw's, but if they're on, that's certainly.
Yeah.
Oh, it's only us and
Okay, all right. So what I'm gonna do now is, we're gonna move on to an application by Jivan LLC as written by Rayor Shaw. They own a property in town that we refer to as the Andover Strip Mall on Route 6.
What is the address?
144 Route 6 is the exact address. 144 Route 6. And it's the Andover Strip Mall. I think there's 6 businesses or so in there now. And the information presented at the last meeting with these people said that they bought it last year for $850,000. And they had a bank appraisal for their loan that said it was worth $850,000. So now they've come to us and they have asked that it be lowered to 570, 150. Is that it, Linda?
That's what it says.
And then talking to them at the last
But no, I
meeting.
don't think that's the same as this number.
Oh,
Right?
so,
It's the
that's
same.
before the hearing.
That's just what, I think they're just putting in that number.
Oh, they're asking, is that the assessment? Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
the assessment. So what's 70% added? We're working this out, Eric, because the number they put down is wrong.
What I was in the middle of doing was seeing what 850 times 70% was, which is 595,
Uh-huh,
which is more than that.
which is more than that.
And that's the number we would go with, was the 850, right? Because
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
the-
Right, so
So that's actually less.
570, 150 divided by 0.7 would be 814.5.
For me personally, I think he's right on.
Mhm.
I think we just leave this one.
I think the
Without a different
discussion
appraisal.
is that I think the assessors got this number correct for the property and the time frame. I understand their position is they feel that the business model is off, but that has nothing to do with the taxes of the property. Robert, anything you could add?
I just want to make sure that we're doing this right administratively. We are positive that they've been notified that this hearing was going to happen
Yes.
today.
Yes,
Okay.
they responded to me yesterday by email
Uh-huh.
and said they had no additional information.
All right. So they're not submitting any additional information, no testimony, no
No.
comments.
Nope,
No,
We know that they're not connected online.
correct.
All right. I got nothing yet to add then.
I think we have to leave it because if we were to do the 70% of the 850 they paid for it, it's even more than that,
Mhm.
what they're really being assessed.
So I'll make a motion that we leave this assessment value as set by the assessor's office and not make any changes.
I'll second it.
Any
All in
further?
favor?
Aye.
So Eric, I made the motion, Linda seconded it, and we have a 3-0 vote in favor of supporting it to leave it as is.
And Linda seconded, correct?
Yes, yes.
So the motion is to leave the assessment as set by the assessor's office, no
Correct.
change.
Correct. That's it, we're done, right?
Well, I just want to bring your attention, I sent out letters for the last meeting we had, the people who have been given notice,
You
written
gave us
notice.
those, right?
Yeah.
And I went to New Britain, I picked up that copy of the Timber case. And you both have been given a copy of that for your
Mhm.
personal edification and training.
Thank you.
And other than that, it is, what time is it?
Add an hour. It is, well, we need a motion.
I make a motion to adjourn today's meeting.
I second this.
All in favor?
Aye. It is 10:44, 10:45. Motion made to adjourn by Mr. Roy, seconded by Linda.
And Eric, we appreciate your helping us.
No problem.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
We're all done?
Yep.
Okay.
So we have